practicing your etudes putting you to sleep? Well, maybe you need some new ways to practice your etudes. Okay, so practicing your etudes isn't always fun, and we know what they're for. They're to help you perfect your technique. Well, actually, etudes are sort of like a missing link. They're that halfway point between exercises which help you develop your technique on those very important fundamentals, and between your real music, where your technique is truly put to the test. Etudes are that middle step. They're like that proving ground where you get to see if your technique is really up to the challenge in sort of a musically limited format, right? Because the etudes don't have a lot going for them all the time. Some of them are very pretty, some of them are tuneful, some of them are just plain dull. But that limited variety, that, sort of one-trick pony aspect of etudes is really what's so valuable about them. That's why we practice them. So let's find some ways to use that. Now you can do them the old-fashioned way, of course, being very, very slow and very careful, watching your placing, watching every aspect of your technique. And that's a great way to practice them because that's what they do. But this is also the perfect opportunity to really work at some speed. Let's speed things up. And so don't just play it at that slow tempo. After all, now I'm doing a lot of scales and arpeggios here, but what good is a technique that can only do scales and arpeggios beautifully when they're slow? So etudes are the place to check your speed. If you can't play your etudes fast, you probably won't be able to play your pieces fast either. So this is the perfect place to try that out, where the musical complexity is a little bit less. Makes sense, right? Okay, well, what's something else you can do with your etudes? Well, you could practice your sight reading. Now, one of the most common ways to practice your etudes is you work on one until you get it really, really good, and then you go on to the next one. But what if instead you took a book of etudes, a set of etudes, maybe ones that are even a little bit easier than the ones you normally do, and do one etude a day, a different etude every day? It would give you a chance to practice your sight reading and to sort of work round robin through a lot of different skills, so that you're not just working on scales forever and ever until you perfect that one etude, but instead you're working on a whole bunch of different techniques and putting them together. That sort of little etude smorgasbord is really, really beneficial for your technique, and it will help your sight reading. And in fact, I'll let you in on a secret. That's why I developed the Etude a Day Challenge, because it gets you through one etude a day. Now you can work through it at your own pace, of course. You don't have to do one a day, but it gives you that ability to switch from technique to technique, and it keeps you from being bored, from spending too much time on one thing. Okay, so that's our second different way to try your etudes, the sight reading way. But here's a third way I'm going to suggest. You can use your etudes to actually sort of train your brain to develop your musicianship further. And what do I mean? Well, I will tell you. Now, for instance, this etude that I'm using, this is etude number 2 from the Etude a Day Challenge, in fact. If you just looked at the components that this etude is working on, going back to my slow tempo, it's working on a scale and it's working on arpeggios, all based on nice little triads. So right there, I have 2 theoretical things to pay attention to: scales and arpeggios based on triads, based on 3-note chords. So that just paying attention to that little aspect helps remind you of the theory behind it, right? But let's not even go that far. Let's just look at the patterns. Okay, in a scale pattern, what do you have to watch out for? Well, you have to watch out for the cross-unders and crossovers, right? These are the critical parts. So what you might want to do is say, okay, well, I'm going to take that scale apart. I'm just going to look at that one place where I have a little bit of trouble. I'll work that, and then I'll play through the etude. what you'll find when you start looking at your etudes this way is that you're looking at them sort of the way your teacher looks at them, right? As a way to work on this particular skill, so that instead of just starting in and playing the notes and making sure that they're all right, you're thinking, okay, I'm working on my scales, I'm working on my triads, and these are the elements that I have to watch out for. So paying attention to the reason, the why behind the etude, instead of just practicing the notes and trying to get your technique as solid as possible, brings an entirely different dimension to the whole thing, because not only are you working on your harp skills, but you're working on your musical skills as well. Okay, so there are 3 different ways to practice your etudes. Instead of just the slow fall asleep way, you can use them to train your speed, to work on your sight reading with that sort of round robin smorgasbord approach, and you can use them to train your musicianship skills and to become an even better musician. And so I don't know, 3 better ways, 3 better reasons for you to start practicing your etudes. So do it now.